Good morning, everyone. People are still sort of filing in, although we've got a pretty good turnout so far.
We have a lengthy agenda, and we have a definite cutoff today because of limits on our Zoom meeting. So I think we probably should get started. My name is Jack Wallace. I'm with the Derby Greenway Committee, and I'm co-chair along with Rista. It just happens to be my turn to be the MC, I guess, today. But I'd like to get started again because we do have a cutoff really right before 10:30 because the Zoom conference has to be used for another meeting. So I'd like to get started. And do you want to show the agenda again, Aaron? I've got it on my screen, but I know you have it on the slide.
Sure, I can.
And while he's doing that, again, our goals today look at the priorities, and we'll talk about that quite a bit. And then we'll talk later on about how to fund some of these things, what's out there. But why don't we start with introductions, because I see some new faces and old faces here today. It's a good turnout for right before the holidays. Again, I'm Jack Wallace. I'm co-chair with Rista, and I'm also with the Derby Greenway Committee, as you can see from my background there. So let's see. Everybody's screen looks a little different, so I'll just call names and you can introduce yourself. Kevin?
Hi, I'm Kevin Zak of the Naugatuck River Revival Group, and I help out Pete Hess with the Naugatuck River Matters in Naugatuck.
Okay. Mark?
Good morning, Mark Nielsen, NBCOG.
Okay, Anne Marie, and congratulations, Anne Marie, on your new position.
Oh, thank you. Anne Marie Draganis, first select woman for the town of Seymour.
Okay, Jean? Gotta unmute yourself. Oh, I'm sorry, Jen. Gotta put my glasses on.
Hi, I'm Jen Riley. I'm from the Connecticut DOT. I work in our policy and strategic planning group. We do bikes, we do electric vehicles, we do all sorts of stuff. So I'm here from the state side.
Rista?
Good morning, Rista Malanka, co-chair, Naugatuck River Greenway, City of Torrington.
Okay, help desk? You can all use help. I don't know what your name is.
Lucas, can you let those dogs in?
You need
It's
to unmute yourself.
Judy Mancini from City of Waterbury, who's help desk today.
All right. Cleve?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was help desk.
You can rename yourself if you want.
I am with Mayor O'Leary's office, Waterbury.
Okay. Cleve? Unmute yourself, Cleve.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we could hear you, but it's Cleve now, and he's muted.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm Judy Mancini. I'm with Mayor O'Leary's office in Waterbury.
Thanks, Judy.
Cleve? You gotta unmute yourself, Cleve. All right, we'll come back to you when you get unmuted. Janelle?
Good morning. I'm with the Northwest Hills Council of Governments.
Okay. James?
Jim Stewart, Public Works, Naugatuck.
Okay. Courtney?
Hi, everybody. I'm Courtney Morehouse. I'm with the Housatonic Valley Association.
Richard?
Sorry, Richard Crowther, NBCOG.
Okay. Jerry?
Jerry Smith, First Selectman, Town of Beacon Falls.
Okay. Denise?
Hi, I'm here. I had trouble getting on with the link.
Oh, okay, but you made it. So
I made it. That's all that counts.
Just want to introduce yourself?
Denise Rapp, First Selectman of Litchfield.
Great, thank you.
Be right back.
Good. Who did I miss here? Oh, I don't know the name. Vincent?
Not all the way,
Hi, yeah, I'm Vincent Seifert, engineer from Naugatuck, an avid hiker, and I'm a new member of the group because I suppose I spoke with Pete Hess accidentally, expressing interest in the Greenway. And so,
Welcome.
yes, thank you. And I'm looking forward to helping wherever I can.
Great project going on here. Ed? Ed, are you, there you go.
I am here now. I just turned on my microphone. Yes, Ed Moan, First Selectman, Town of Thomaston.
Welcome back. And Cleve, I see you're unmuted.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh, thank you. I'm Cleve Fusenich from Litchfield, head of the Economic Development Commission and member of several other organizations.
And a steady member of this group for a long time. So, okay, let's move along. We've got some project updates. I don't see Sheila here from Ansonia. So, Aaron, do you want to give an update for Ansonia?
So I know that, here, let me put on. So yeah, I know I think they went out to bid for construction on their phase 2, 3, and 4, which was basically creating a sort of a mirror greenway on the east side of the river in downtown Ansonia. I really don't have the details. Sheila had said she'd sort of give that update, so I didn't get any details from her. They were also going out to bid on for a consultant to do a routing study north from the end of their greenway section on the west side to the Seymour town line. And I really don't know where that is right now either, but I know those were imminent anyway.
One of the interesting things about Ansonia, I don't know if it's still in the plans, but they had intended to put some form of a lighthouse at the entrance to this new section. So they may have the only inland lighthouse in Connecticut by the time they're done. So we'll see what happens there. Waterbury, who wants to give the update for Waterbury? Judy?
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. In Waterbury, our Greenway project went out to bid for the construction aspect of it. We opened the bids actually late November. We had 20 respondents to the bid. We're currently going through the top bidders with the Department of Transportation and Federal Highway. So we hope to be, moving on the project early next year.
Fantastic. And how many miles are you doing this time?
2 miles. It's a 2-mile stretch of Greenway from Platts Mill Road to Eagle Street, running along South Main Street.
Fantastic. Okay, Thomaston, Torrington. I don't know who's going to do that.
So I can just say we are going to present the project and the final report to the Northwest Hills Council of Governments tomorrow at their monthly COG meeting, and we'll be asking them for endorsement. So it's been endorsed by this committee, the Naugatuck+Valley COG, and now we're looking for Northwest Hills' endorsement as well.
Great. Watertown, Thomaston, design and construction.
I don't think Roy is on the call, is he? No. Mark, I don't know if you have anything you want to say about it, but I know the town. So DOT had expressed concerns about the proximity of the Waterbury's water main, and asked for more sort of more research and study on it. So Watertown has been surveying and trying to locate the actual location of the water main. And I think that work is sort of continuing right now. And once we have that, we'll go back to DOT and ask them to sort of endorse that project.
Yeah, the big issue, and again, how it affects the Thomaston section is the short section in Thomaston will connect with what we're proposing in Watertown. And right now, DOT is not providing us the commitment to fund letter for the Thomaston section because they don't see a logical terminus for the Thomaston section without the Watertown project moving ahead. we keep arguing that there is a logical terminus to bring the trail over the Branch Brook, but they're reluctant and have to date have sort of refused to allow us to move ahead with the Thomaston section. The Thomaston section has been designed. The design is completed. And it's sort of been on hold, while we're trying to resolve the funding issue. But eventually, the project will develop, the full, specifications and bid package for that section. As Aaron mentioned, Watertown has been looking at where the trying to locate exactly where the water main is, and so that we can align the trail in Watertown, so it doesn't impact it. Again, DOT is very concerned that if during construction of the Watertown section, if we damage the water main, the project would have to pay for that, and that could be a very expensive proposition. So they're reluctant to go ahead with the project until we have sort of assurances that we can build this without impacting the main.
Okay, yeah, any kind of time estimate there, guesstimate? No.
We're still working with Roy. I know he's working on it, and we need to follow up with him on where they are, because again, if his work can demonstrate that we can build this section without impacting that water main, that would hopefully allay any concerns that the DOT has, so that we can at least get the Thomaston section, because that's ready to go. Like I said, the design is complete. We probably have to do some kind of a follow-up public information, because it's it's going on almost a year of just no action because of the issues with the department. So but that's pretty much ready to go, and it's a relatively small section, and we're going to be the lot zip money would be used to fund that, which is a state funded program that we use that mainly used for road projects, but we can use it for trails as well.
Okay.
If I can just comment there for
Sure,
a
go
moment.
ahead, Ed.
Ed Moan here. This is largely contingent upon the Watertown section, but more importantly, or I should say, really the real link is our seeking the funding and to get the bridge that needs to cross Branch Brook. That can tie both sections in together. And so far, we to Mark's point earlier here, we've been unsuccessful in getting that, simply because they say, well, there's no terminus. Well, there is, if that bridge is built. There is. That's the reality. Okay. And thus far, we've not been able to get over that hurdle. So really, that's the critical piece, I think, more than anything other. Finding a way around the water main, I'm sure can be done. I would think could be done. Let's put it that way. There's no certainty until there is certainty. But, we got to keep the pressure on them to give us the funding for the bridge, because that's truly the link.
And I think that's one of the reasons for having a group like this to help advocate for the needs of everyone along the trail. Okay, let's move on, unless there are any others that we missed. Okay, let's move into probably the critical part for today, the priorities update. And there's a lot of work that's been done to get everyone up to date. And especially since we have several new members, I think this is really a very, very important part of the meeting. And Aaron has done a tremendous amount of work on the map, the status of each one, and a very easy to follow spreadsheet, which I think you have all had a chance to look at already. But I'm going to ask Aaron to walk us through some of this, particularly starting with the map, Aaron.
Yeah, so really quick, and I sent links. There's links in the email that I sent, and links in the calendar event on our website as well to both of these. So over the summer, we sort of remapped the entire corridor using the best information we had available. So if you look at the map, when you're zoomed out, each of these segments relates directly to a segment that's listed on the spreadsheet, and they're basically broken into 2 or 3 segments in each town, sort of constructible phases, basically. That's all based on either the routing study or whatever information that we use to create the map. And if you zoom in farther to the town level, you'll see a little bit more detail. And these are the trail segments that sort of add up into those sections. We did have something similar in 2015 that we put together. This is sort of new and improved, and I'll just point out two things that have changed quite a bit. Torrington, we added in, so originally the routing, sort of went up to Stillwater Pond. We talked with Rista and the town, and they have a sort of a new plan to connect the Naugatuck River Greenway to the Sue Grossman Trail. And they just completed a routing study last year looking at that route. So we added that route in here. And it's pretty detailed if you get in there, exactly how they're planning to do that. And we also added all of the preferred route from the Thomaston to Torrington routing study. So that's all in here as well. And we added, a few other things that we saw a change in the past few years, like routing between Seymour and Beacon Falls. So just ask all of you to take a look at this in detail and make sure that we have the most recent and accurate information. If there's something that can be added or changed, please let me know. Yeah, so then, the spreadsheet, we really took each of those sections and broke down, where it is. Is it routed? Has there been any design work on it? Is it completed? There's a column in here for the 2015 regional prioritization that we did. So it lists the priorities from that report. And then the draft priorities this time around that staff has sort of come up with, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. And then whether or not there's construction funding or design funding, and then notes on each one. So like I said, please take a look, make sure it's accurate. We want this to be sort of the central clearinghouse for this type of information. So yeah, hopefully you'll take a look at it.
I think Aaron's done a tremendous job of this. This makes it fairly easy to get up to speed very quickly. You can use the map and then go back and forth to the spreadsheet. They've got the distance of each of these ones, so you get an idea of how much has been done and how far we have to go. There's some cost estimates in there, information about the funding. Basically everything you would want as an overview. And as Aaron said, hopefully we've got everything right, but if you have any updates, things that you think should be changed, then just forward that information to Aaron so that we keep this up to date as much as possible. It's also helpful when funders are looking to learn more about the project. This is a place we can send them to see that, no one section is just in isolation. It is part of a bigger plan, which I think is always helpful when you're looking for funding. So before we move on to the discussion of prioritization, does anyone have any questions about the map or the spreadsheet? Okay, let's move on to the priorities. And keep in mind, when we talk about the priorities at this level, we're talking about the regional priorities, recognizing that within your town, you'll have your own priorities. But Aaron, you got it up already, okay? And you can see that in front of you. Particularly B shows you regional prioritization. And you can look at it, we're starting with a trail section that connects two complete or soon to be complete sections. That's first, a trail section that connects a complete or soon to be complete section with an important destination or population center, as some of you do have your trails running through downtown, which will be helpful to your businesses there. A section that requires little investment or effort to complete, call that the low hanging fruit, and you see a couple of those on the spreadsheet where it may just involve signage or something of that nature rather than major construction. Okay, you want to move on, Aaron?
Sure.
Wait, can I just add?
Sure.
You know, this is, I think, just for everybody on the phone, I just wanted to just point out, I think that, you know, when we create this document and we give a list of our areas that are priorities, you know, that's as of today. But when we look at the criteria that's proposed, you know, we want to be able to use this criteria and apply it to different trail sections in future years. So if you are applying for grant funding, I want, you know, the municipalities or the COG or whoever's applying for grant to say, you know, this is a regional priority because we meet this criteria. So I think this is very important for us all to kind of look at and just make sure that there's no other criteria, or if we really wanted to get into any of the details on what low hanging fruit is, you know, if we don't want to talk about it right now, or you think about it later, you know, in the next couple of days or so, email me or email Aaron or Jack. You know, I think this criteria is important because this is what we want to be able to use when we're applying for grants to say, my trail section is a regional priority because it meets this criteria. So this, I think, is the important piece, one of the most important pieces of the document we're trying to create. Everything else is kind of a snapshot in time, and this is something that can be used or applied throughout the year. So, you know, just please take a look at this and let us know if you have any other suggestions on this.
Right. It's always a work in progress. Aaron?
I'll say, I think the one thing that's not spelled out here that's sort of assumed is that in order for it to be a regional priority, it does have local support.
Right.
So, I mean, maybe we could add that as, you know, priorities have local support and, you know, meet one of those three criteria.
Okay, you want to move on? Well, any other comments before we get to the next section? Okay, I think everybody understands that. All right, now Aaron's going to walk us through what are the priority items on the list right now. So why don't we get through them and then we'll take any comments on what we've established as priorities. Aaron, go ahead.
Sure. So staff sort of took a look at those criteria that had been discussed at prior meetings, and, you know, I went section by section and sort of tried to figure out if each section meets one or more of those criteria. And this is the list I came up with. There's 7 sections. So Torrington 2 would connect the completed trail to downtown Torrington. So that's East Main Street in Franklin to East Albert Street. Litchfield Harwington 3. This was in the routing study that was just completed. It's sort of the one low-hanging fruit among all of the sections that was in that routing study, and it's a concept that was presented in the plan that basically takes Valley Road, which is a local street, which is very low volume, low speed roadway, and sort of sign it and make it make it a part of the Naugatuck River Greenway as a shared roadway. So there aren't sidewalks, there's no bike lanes necessarily, but, you know, there's about 80 vehicles a day using that roadway. You know, we think we can make it, you know, we think it's possible to have a shared roadway that's part of the trail. So basically all you'd really need to do to make that to sort of call it a part of the Naugatuck River Greenway would be to sign it, put down some roadway striping or signage. And I think the cost estimate in the routing study was something like $20,000. And I think that actually was a little bit high. I think they were sort of padding that a little bit. So we sort of saw that as a low hanging fruit. And that's about a 2-mile section. So it's not insignificant. And then Watertown 1, which was the section we're just talking about between Branch Brook Road and Frost Bridge Road, is sort of partially designed. There were some design elements that were created as part of the Watertown Thomaston project. We sort of saw that in the past as low-hanging fruit. You know, I think it's gotten a little bit more complicated, but I still do think it's, you know, there's already basically a trail there that would just need to be improved to create the trail, the Greenway Trail. Waterbury 3 is one of the more critical sections, also probably one of the more expensive and difficult sections, which is connecting Eagle Street to downtown. So the end of their phase 1 that Judy just discussed, that just went out to bid. Getting that trail to downtown, which is it's complex, but I think it's critically important. It's going to connect a lot of people along the trail, a lot of neighborhoods, a lot of destinations, and really could be, a big, a major part of the trail.
Aaron, could I just say, this is Judy, that we have started meetings. We're having a meeting next week, in fact, to discuss the proposed route or a route for that. So we are definitely thinking about that here in the city. So just so you know.
Okay. Hey, Judy, let me know when that meeting is. I'd like to take part if possible.
I was just going to say, I want you at that meeting, Aaron.
Okay.
So I'll be inviting you. Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
So then, sort of on the other side of that Waterbury phase 1 section is Naugatuck 1, which would connect the piece that's going to be constructed next year in Waterbury to the part that's constructed in Naugatuck already. So, between those 3 sections, that would be, nearly something like 5.5 or 6 miles of trail if we could get those 3 pieces together. So that would be significant.
Aaron?
And then
Aaron?
Beacon Falls.
Got a question, Aaron?
Yes, sorry.
Aaron, thanks, but I think Naugatuck needs to get together with Waterbury and you guys and really look at that direction of the trail. The cost of that pedestrian bridge over the river is just it's crazy to put that bridge in my opinion, and then have to maintain it over the years. To me, it would make much more sense to continue along the railroad tracks to Bristol Street and terminate there. So we've got to get together with Waterbury and figure out how we can do that, because I don't see that pedestrian bridge happening at all for a long time anyway.
Yeah, you might be right, and we should definitely talk about that. I think that bridge was part of the TA application that Naugatuck put in.
Yep.
And I think I don't know, Mark, you might want to speak to this, but I do think it pushed the project up above the upper limit of, what was available. But I don't know about whether or not that could eventually still be funded under TA.
Yeah, and again, I think the first step in this is like Jim suggests is getting together, Waterbury and Naugatuck and us, and come up with a consensus on the best way of connecting the 2 trails. And the TA application can be adjusted to reflect that if that becomes a decision of the 2 communities. And I don't think that bridge, the cost of that bridge was a deciding factor on whether it was going to be supported by the department or not going forward with TA. It's not, it hasn't been eliminated from consideration. So I think that's something we can sort of think about.
Can I jump in here for that for 1 minute? Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think the reason, Jim, why they chose the bridge, what you're talking about, is because when it was examined down at Bristol Street, that they couldn't get that 10-foot requirement of the walk over the bridge without, they'd have to cantilever it onto the Bristol Street Bridge. So you've got to, and it narrows up by the railroad track there, where the walk bridge would be over the river is, so it starts right from there to the Bristol Street Bridge. It starts to get pretty narrow. So there's a lot of more dealings with the railroad if you take it down that far. Just throwing that out. That's from our Greenway meeting, Waterbury Greenway meetings years ago.
Yeah, it is narrow there. I agree with you. I just, I don't know,
And the
it seems like
expense,
even if you can't get 10 feet, you could, I
They-
don't know.
they were requiring, it seemed to be, and as I could be wrong or my memory could be failing here, but that 10-foot walkway over that bridge seemed to be a deal breaker. I don't know, with CDOT or something, somebody that, do you know what I'm-
Over Bristol Street Bridge?
Yeah. In other words, there's a sidewalk there, but that was not acceptable.
Can I just break in? I think the point has been made that this is gonna need more work. We can't resolve that in this meeting today. So, I think, as Jim said, you need to get together and discuss it, but I think everyone would still agree that particular link is a critical part of this whole project to be able to link the lower valley to the upper valley. So that's why it's on the priority list, but the details still sounds like still need a lot of work. Aaron, you want to move ahead?
Sure. So the next section, Beacon Falls 3. So that's connecting the section that they have completed on Main Street now to Toby's Pond. And it would really, we worked with the town a few years back, putting together a concept of basically continuing the road diet that was started all the way down. So basically taking one of the, I think, southbound lanes of Route 42 there. Now, First Selectman Smith is on the call. I don't know if he has anything to add to that, or if the town does support that being a priority.
It's funny because I haven't really delved in when I was in office last time when we kind of I wrapped up the streetscape, which was our portion of the Greenway. And there were so many different challenges of how to get there from here. As we all know, that seems to be the common thread of all the different arteries. My only challenge is that, when we lost the one lane on Main Street, where it's less of a thoroughfare, to lose another one. And it's also, now you're talking on 42, it's now you're dealing with DOT because it's the state portion of the road.
Mm-hmm.
The portion that we did on Main Street was the town portion that we had taken over. I know, and I spoke to a couple other folks that were involved, I guess the last time you were there, and there were some other options because, as Jim from Naugatuck had pointed out, to get there, you have two options. Either we go over the Pines Bridge to get to Toby's Pond, or I saw one of the plans, which I like, but I know you got to deal with reality. Crossing the Naugatuck River is not going to be a cheap endeavor, and maintenance of it is going to be even more expensive. If I had my druthers, I would love to run it right down 42, go to River Bend, bop over the river on a footbridge, and pick up Toby's Pond. I just think that that's never going to happen because it's cost prohibitive. There was also way back when, before I think the streetscape was even there were some trails put in on the other side of Depot Street Bridge. And I think you show that as kind of a preliminary plan too. So I'm fully on board. I really need to put a group together of people that are actually vested and interested in pursuing this. As you can tell, this is my first time jumping back into these waters and looking at it. I have some opinions. I don't object to what you're showing. They're priorities, and I agree with the priorities. But whether we go down Main Street or whether we go down the west side of the river on the other side of Depot Street Bridge, because I see where there were some disconnects also in other portions where, portions of the Greenway would dead end, and then you would take a spur off and continue down in other directions. So I just think that Beacon Falls to connect to Seymour is easier than it's going to be to connect to Naugatuck. But I think that we need to do it in a way that's not going to totally disrupt downtown traffic, which is kind of on the outskirts of downtown. So I just wanted to just share that although I like it, I'm a little apprehensive of taking another lane from 42 and running down Main Street.
Yeah, that's understandable. And, I think in the narrative of this report, we would definitely spell out those concerns. I think having this as a priority, this section as a priority is certainly not pinning the town down to, one option. It would really just be, we really want to connect this to this. How we go about it is sort of still up in the air, and we can definitely spell that out in the narrative.
Okay. And that was, and I do have to go, but my admin is on, so Carrie's on, so she'll pick up the notes from here. So unless if there's anything else that you really kind of needed from me, I do have another meeting I do need to get to. But I did want to share that, so I'm glad I was able to just share that. And Aaron, I want to get together with you, with the group that I want to put together, and I'll give you a representative that will share my thoughts and the town's thoughts and be a liaison. I just need to get that right person in place.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Carrie's on. She'll take it from here if you need anything from me or any dates or anything like that.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
And then actually the next piece is Seymour to Beacon Falls. And that section is basically, it was following an application that both towns jointly put in for the Transportation Alternatives Program. And they sort of laid out a conceptual route. So that is in the map, and that's what we're calling Seymour 1 to Beacon 5. So really connect Toby's Pond Park to downtown Seymour and the completed section in downtown Seymour. So those are the 7 sections that we think are, meet one or many of those criteria.
So we'll open it up, any discussion on these, we'll talk about the individual towns as well, give people an opportunity, but just a quick discussion. Any thoughts on the priorities as developed so far? It's gonna be an easy group to please, I guess, today. All right, then let's move on. The next section gives people an opportunity to discuss any local priorities. We're not going to go around to each one, but if you have something to add about your own local priorities, now would be the time to bring them up. So any comments on local priorities? Or
I
we already have them.
Jack, this is Denise Rapp from Litchfield. I just have a question. That Campville Hill Road, is that the same thing as we call Campville Road here in town? Because that's a highly traveled road that has a lot of traffic and a lot of speed. So I'm just making sure we're talking about the same area.
So Valley Road, so Campbell Hill that section is actually in Harwinton. So it's on the other side of the river. Campbell Hill Road comes down, and there is a short section there where it jogs and you go over Campbell Hill Road and then up to Route 8.
Okay. But not because the stretch that's in Litchfield actually is a problem, that there's a lot of speed and a lot of traffic, like 1,000 cars a day.
Yeah, there's not anywhere near that. There is a short section where people from Campbell Hill Road are going to Route 8, and there's about 100 yards there where it's a little bit more heavily trafficked that will have to be dealt with. But
okay, good to know.
Okay, yeah, that whole section is actually in Harwinton.
Okay, good.
Any other comments? Okay, Aaron, do we need a motion to approve the priorities?
That would probably be helpful.
Okay, so I would ask that someone make a motion to approve the priorities as discussed here today.
I can make the motion.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Cleve made the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, just raise your hand or say aye. Just raise your hand so we can.
Aye.
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 Might be easier if I just say, are there any objections? Okay, hearing none and seeing none, the motion for the priorities is approved as discussed today. So thank you. Yeah, we got through that very quickly. That was excellent. Great. Now the hard part, or hopefully it would be an easy part, but we know it won't be. We got all the plans, and we have to talk about where might some of the funds come for this. So we're going to ask Mark Nielsen to kind of give us an update on funding and where things might stand or where they might go. Mark, you're on.
Okay, thanks. Well, as you know, one of our primary funding sources is the Transportation Alternatives Program. That's a federal aid program. It's a percentage drawdown of our surface transportation funds that are allocated to the state. The department asked the COGS to solicit projects about a year or so ago, and the money is being allocated not by COG boundaries, but by what they call transportation management areas, which are basically the urbanized areas. So our region is actually parts of 3 TMAs, the Hartford TMA, the Bridgeport-Stanford TMA, and as well as in the Haven TMA. And then Waterbury is a separate small urban. So we had to coordinate with 4 other regions in this process. And, you know, we did do that with our partner agencies in Bridgeport and Stanford, Norwalk, as well as in Danbury and the Capital Region. We did come up with priority projects that we submitted to the department, but the department is being cautious right now because the federal transportation bill basically expired October 1st of this year. There was a continuing resolution that extended the FAST Act through 1 more year, but the obligational authority for funding was only, you know, I think granted only for a couple of months. So the funding for this program is a little bit up in the air. So what the department decided to do was they were going to look at just the top, you know, top 1 or 2 priorities in each TMA area. So that's where we stand right now. Unfortunately, the Naugatuck application section wasn't one of the top 2 priorities that they were looking at, and same thing with the Seymour Beacon Falls application. The Seymour Beacon Falls would be funded under the Bridgeport Stanford pot of money. Again, that was I think that was like number 4 priority. So the department hasn't looked at it. Now, the good news is as the Congress works on reauthorization of the transportation bill, Transportation Alternatives Program is included in both draft bills, both from the Senate and the House so far. So it's gotten wide support, bipartisan support for continuing the program. So the good news is it's likely to continue. I shouldn't even say likely, but it will continue going forward in the new transportation bill. And the other good news is both bills actually were going to be increasing the amount of funding that would be available under the Transportation Alternatives Program. So we'll have to keep an eye on going forward, but there's a possibility that there's going to be more funding allocated under the federal aid program for these projects next year. And again, and I think it was a concerted effort with all the MPOs and COGS. We wanted to be proactive. That's why we solicited and really reviewed more projects than we knew we had funding for, because we want to be ready. Because if all of a sudden there's more money available, we don't want to have to take a year trying to figure out what projects we want to do. We wanted to have projects sort of ready we could propose. So that's why what we did, we came up with instead of coming up with 1 or 2 priorities, project proposals, we came up with 4 or 5 in each of the regions we dealt with. So stay tuned. We could be having more money available. So that's it on the TA program.
That's good news, especially for.
Now, the only other thing I will mention, and it's the state also just came out with a solicitation for what's called congestion mitigation and air quality money. And this is, again, is a federal aid program. And they allocate a portion of the state's allocation to the regions. Now, bike and ped facilities are an eligible project under federal regulations. However, typically they don't score very high because this program is designed to address air quality and help reduce emissions. Typically, projects don't score high on that measure. So even though it's an eligible project, the department's been reluctant actually to support funding for that. But I do offer it, and I think we'll be doing a solicitation. So I think it's not a very high possibility or probability of getting funding for it, but it is a source that we may want to think about. And if we can just do a very, something like in Waterbury, that could be, we could demonstrate, a lot of people are going to be using this, so we'll have an air quality, a much greater air quality benefit than, more in a rural area. But I do put that out as a possibility, although it's, not a very likely source, but I just wanted to mention it.
Thanks, Mark. All right, moving on, we have an item here on COVID-19 related recovery. And I think if any of you have been following the data being compiled by the Yukon Connecticut Trail Census Project, you'll see they've been able to document the tremendous jump in growth of use of all the trails, starting with COVID back in March. And we just thought we'd open it up to see if anyone wants to address anything that's happened on their trails related to COVID-19. But I think, and the longer we get into this, the more bored people are at staying home, and the trails do give a nice alternative, a safe alternative. So any comments that people want to add here? Okay. We're moving along. It's going quickly. All right. Another kind of related. Well, anyone else have anything under funding? Probably not. Okay. Kevin Zak is here, and you may have seen some information on TV and different papers, op-ed pieces and whatnot, about Kinneytown Dam, and I'll let him talk briefly about this. We probably need more time at another session to go into some detail, but basically several years ago, a number of dams along the Naugatuck River were removed in an effort to get the water flowing freely, and the ultimate goal would be to see some fish restoration of the salmon coming back up the river. But one dam is still there that provides a major obstacle, even though it has a fish ladder. And Kevin will give you we've got a little video here.
Yeah, Jack, I don't know if you mind.
No, go ahead.
If you don't mind, we sort of made up a lot of time there. I thought that conversation was going to take a lot longer. So yeah. If Kevin doesn't mind talking to the video, I think it'll give a much better idea of what's going on.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, what you're going to see, all the video was taken down at Kinneytown. This is the confluence of the Naugatuck and the Housatonic. The Derby Dam is a barrier to the left. And then we're going to the fish take a right up into the Naugatuck River. And from that point, they travel about 5 miles and they run into the Kinneytown Dam. But to understand, this is the largest and most important freshwater habitat in Western Long Island Sound. So the Ansonia Power Plant is lower to your right. That pond to your right is called Coe Pond. That feeds the second power plant owned by a private company called Enel that owns the two power plants, and that's the dam. And in order to restore 32 miles of spawning and rearing habitat, this dam must be changed in one way or another. And we have recently filed at the FERC a joint filing between Save the Sound and the Naugatuck River Revival Group. And there's a sub docket of an information only really. The FERC is seeking information about this dam. It's been out of their radar until now. And that's an overview of the dam. And there's a fish ladder there that we believe is ineffective. And it was built in 1999. And that's unit 1 right there in the lower part. This is a eel ladder that's been busted almost every year. And there's 2 means to pass that dam. And that's one is the eel ramp right there full of junk. That net is supposed to help the eels climb up there. And all the other fish need to use this particular ladder. and it's called a Denil, DENIL ladder. It's very long. It's one of the longest of 70 fish ladders in the state of Connecticut, and it has a zigzag entrance. These are all fish below that are trapped below the dam. I put my cameras under the water for the past 5 years. This video, by the way, is available online, and you're going to see when I've been down there in the middle of the night, quite literally up to 12 o'clock at night, to see all the life that comes up against that dam and gets trapped, and there's nowhere to go. They become predated on, or the dam, it dries out below there, and they just simply die and then are picked off by predators. That's only 8 lamprey passed that dam in 2020. These are salmon below the dam. There were about 6 or 7 of them, and they're there. That ladder is a disaster. That whole place is a disaster. That's a salmon. So 0 Atlantic salmon passed that dam in 2020. Now these are amazing creatures that came from 3,000 miles away, and they climb sheer walls. They're called elvers. They're baby eels. It's illegal to harvest them in anywhere except Maine and South Carolina. They reach $2,000 a pound. They're transported to and reared in the Asian countries, especially Japan. 0 elvers passed. These are eels. I've only seen 3 eels above that dam in Naugatuck-Waterbury area. This was one night below the dam. They're everywhere. There's so much fish and life down below that dam, and it's being choked off by a company that's headquartered in Rome. And we've extended our grievances to the FERC, who has jurisdiction over this dam, and it extends into the Greenway, because if we could affect a change down there, that is a corridor between Seymour and Ansonia, and these are in videos in the pools below that dam. So there are target species like American shad that are very highly sought after. And they estimate that 20,000 shad can be supported. This is striped bass. That's the tail race right there in the background. And this was an observation photograph. These are striped bass in that tail race. I put cameras on long poles. I spent a lot of time down there. Gathering evidence. This is under cement slabs below the spillway. If you find pockets of water, you can't see this if you go down there. You have to put a camera down, and it's just amazing. It's very sad. It's very sad, and people should be outraged.
So I think I wanted to share this with this group because you know, with all of the investment that's being made on the Naugatuck River Greenway, all the investment that's been made in the past, 20 and 30 years in improving the water quality in the Naugatuck, taking those dams down that are upstream, none of that investment is going to, come to full fruition unless we can return all of these fish to the river as well. Shad, salmon, striped bass are really popular game fish. So restoring this to the full Naugatuck River up to Thomaston would bring in a lot of tourism dollars, a lot of recreation dollars as well. So right now there is an effort to sort of help FERC see that this needs to be remedied. There's a coalition forming. So NVCOG has joined with Save the Sound and Kevin's group, the Naugatuck River Revival Group, to really push this issue. And I think it might be appropriate for this committee to also sign on to that if there's support.
Any comments?
Hi, this is Courtney from HVA. I think HVA would be interested in this. We've been looking at connectivity issues for some time, and we just recently have been working on a culvert study in Beacon Falls, Naugatuck, and Watertown. So this really very much ties into opening up habitat, replacing culverts, and making sure that there's fish passability, especially for diadromous fish that travel to and from Long Island Sound. So if you want to forward on that information, I'm sure we'd want to be involved.
I've been in touch. Mike is well aware of this, and he just needs to be updated. If you could refer to the have Mike and anybody at HVA and Lynn look at the new docket, P 6985, subdocket 005. And you'll be updated and with all the evidence. We have since September 29th to November 30th, we'll bring you up to date.
We're also putting together a story map that'll sort of discuss all of these issues a little bit more in detail. We really want to make the public aware that this is occurring. I don't think, I wasn't aware of it until Kevin started talking about it to me a few years ago. And, I think it's really important that people understand that this is going on. And I think Kevin, if Kevin hadn't done all of this work, I don't think it would be as apparent that there is such a big problem. So, Kevin's done a really good job.
So what really has happened is we've just torn the lid off of this, and it's about to go public. And I was in the dark on this. I actually kept it in the dark because of it took a lot of effort and time to build this evidence for the last 5 years. I had been in contact with Fish and Wildlife and NOAA, and I had a good idea of what I needed to do. I wish I started 10 years ago. I did start 10 years ago, but I didn't start documenting till about 5 years ago. I didn't understand what was going on down here. It's kind of complicated, but now it's known. And the press is starting to pick up on it. So it's coming out. We're out of the closet, if you will.
Kevin, this is Denise Rapp and Aaron as well. This is the first I've really seen any in-depth information on this, and me personally, I'm very interested in helping, and I would see what I can do to spread the education and have this be a top priority. It concerns me. And Connecticut spends a lot of money on hatcheries, right? So they're promoting fish, right, and wildlife. Mm-hmm. But here they're doing the exact opposite.
That's an interesting and good way, an observation of what's happening here. We could use all your help and all your support as it moves along and becomes exposed, because we're going to need public and private pressure. And we're trying, the goal here is to get that company, which is one of the largest energy companies in the world, to come to us and say, okay, we want to fix it, or we have to fix it. And that's why we had to go to FERC, because they're not voluntarily, they're actually in violation of their permit for almost 2 decades. And certainly at least since 2014 or 13, Aaron, am I correct? But it might go back to 2010. And it was out of, they were able to stay out of the radar of FERC. And there's some issues with Fish and Wildlife and DEEP we're trying to work through. And in the next week or two, it's a very critical stage in our process here. And we'll have more information within a week or two as we have a few meetings that we need to vet, if you will. So we have legal teams working on this. this is a gate where the elvers climb up, and you'll see in a moment, there's the dam to the right. The fish ladder was just where that platform was. And they're attracted by that, what they call false attraction, and they just fall off. They climb up. You can see them to the left. They're climbing up that wooden gate, and then they come to a dead end where it's dry, and they just fall off. It's a real sad and terrible situation. This is the power plant that's offline, that was not supposed to go offline. We believe it might have been offline since 2010. It's been all but abandoned. You could actually walk in there, and you're going to see inside there in a minute. And so it's open to the elements and local kids and stuff. This is a power plant. That's been open for months. It may be locked now because it was referenced in the filing, and now FERC knows about it, and so does the company. This is a company that's taking the resources, the raw materials from the Naugatuck River, and has an outhouse for a facility. As you can see, the doors falling off of that stuff. It's a mess, and it's all been right there, but it's been under our radar too.
Some of these issues go back a long time. You know, at the beginning, you showed the Housatonic Dam in Derby. Interesting story there. That dam was built right after the Civil War. And for years, the industrialists in the valley wanted to build that because they knew the economic impact. But they couldn't get a permit from the state of Connecticut because the fishermen as far upriver as New Milford valued the shad industry, and they protested. And finally, the industrialists said, well, okay, we will build a fish ladder. We call it something else back then, so that the fish can get around the dam. And if any of you have been through Derby, you know that's a good sized dam. Well, interesting enough, they finally got permission to build the dam as long as they built the fish ladder. Well, guess what? It didn't work. And if you go to New Milford, I think every year in August, they still have their Shad Derby Festival. But the one thing they don't have is shad, because the fish ladder didn't work and the shad can't get past the dam. So, you know, this is just another example of this. Aaron, I don't know what we do at this point, other than just keep raising the issue with the group. And I know, Anne Marie, this affects your town more than any other. It actually affects everybody. But I'm sure there's a financial impact in your town too. There must be a taxpayer.
Yes, it is a financial impact to our town. And matter of fact, I don't know if anybody recalls when we had that tractor trailer that overturned on Route 8 and it dumped the trash into the river. And then all of a sudden, that same week, we had a German Shepherd stuck on a ledge, and the whole town was in an outrage about all the trash that was just collected in that one area. So anything that Seymour can do, the taxpayers are certainly behind it. You know, we'll do whatever we need to do to get this cleaned up. I have a degree in environmental, so I'm all for this, and I'll help in any way that I can.
Anne Marie, let me address that for a quick second. What I believe in from your point of view is that you are under taxing them, and you would need a specialist that it would cost a little bit of money. It might cost $10,000, $15,000 or whatever to reassess what an energy company should be paying you. They have about 90 acres down there in Ansonia and Seymour. And when we started to jumpstart this whole thing about a year ago, we had a couple of attorneys on a call, and we have hired an attorney from Maine that talked about that. His name is Ron Kreisman, and you're welcome to have, a conversation at our expense with him if you want. He's had dealings with many dams up in Maine. That he's a specialist and he's a FERC specialist. But from that early conversation, the topic was brought up that it's likely that you're not getting the tax base that you should be getting.
It's music to my ears, actually. To go after him. I would love to speak to the attorney and actually probably have our town council speak to him as well. So if we want to take this offline and you can contact my office and we can get that set up, that would be wonderful.
All right.
Okay.
But can I say one more thing? On Saturday, I'm meeting with the mayor of Ansonia to give a tour. If you wanted to join us, we're starting at the Kinneytown Dam bypass at 9 o'clock on Saturday, weather pending. Anne Marie, you're welcome to, if you're not familiar with Kinneytown.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. I'll be there. 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
If you recall, we did have one of our meetings visit the Kinneytown Dam in Seymour and the fish bypass ladder there. That was about 2 years ago, Aaron, I think.
It was even longer than that. I think it was 2014.
Wow.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah. So it'd be nice to get an update at some point on how that fish ladder is working, but that's for another day.
That's for another day, yeah.
All right, moving on to our schedule for the year. You see the proposed schedule with meetings in February, May, August, November.
Yeah, so that's basically the same schedule we had this past year. This meeting is a month later than originally scheduled because we had mistakenly scheduled it for Veterans Day. So the next meeting will come up in 2 months. So it'll be a little bit shorter of a time, but if that's okay with everybody, I think that's worked out.
And again, we encourage you to talk to your neighbors. You know, we have a good attendance today, but we're still missing some people. You know, having that involvement and keeping people up to date and informed, because there's a lot going on. But you know, this is not a short-term project. This is years and years. But you know, you just get a section done at a time, and sooner or later, you got something that's pretty spectacular. And I can tell you from being involved in Derby, since we started this, it's one of the best things that we ever did in our town. Highly valued by everyone. We got people coming from all over to use our trail. And our trail will only get better by having this trail connected all the way to Torrington and connect to all your other towns. So, you know, again, at times we all get frustrated. It doesn't move fast enough. But then again, you look at that map that Aaron presented in the spreadsheet and you see there's a lot going on. So let's keep up the activity and bring more people on board. Is there anything else to bring before the committee? Someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, Anne Marie, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Object? None. All right, we're adjourned. I wish everybody a happy holiday, and let's hope we see miles and miles of new trail in 2021. Thanks.
Thank you,
everyone.
And Aaron,
Thanks, Kevin.
you're welcome.